Robot AIs are taking over the art world, ripping off Picasso, Da Vinci, and Susan. Yeah, Susan, that lady who uploads her harmless pencil drawings to Facebook. Yeah, AI's ripping her off. So when I heard that this technology was available to the general public, I naturally went to DALL-E and stole my own reference image. With the power of AI, I wanted to generate a reference image, bring it to life by recreating it using oil paint. I had this idea of a very colorful landscape with the main focus being in the sky. So I thought of no better artist to use as a reference than Mark Maggiore. Now, while the image was nowhere near what I was envisioning and definitely didn't do credit where it was due, kind of like how I pronounce his name, this was the image that caught my attention. I knew I wanted a different composition than what this image generated for me. So what I used was DALL-E's Generate Frame tool to start expanding the image. And from here, I had my base point. Now, I could have just taken this image and went to start recreating it in the physical world, but I knew I wanted to have a little bit of my own flavor to it. So I took the image into Photoshop and began doing some kit bashing as well as a little bit of digital painting. So one interesting thing that DALL-E does when you generate these images or generate frames is it gives you 4 variants. So what I was able to do was go back to DALL-E, take some of these images and do what I would call kit bashing, which is taking little bits and parts of the generated images that I like and sort of cropping them and placing them where I would actually like them to be. After cropping, moving, and resizing all these different images, I finally finished off with a little bit of digital painting to add a little bit of a barn door, some windows, and to sort of just finalize and complete the image. So here was the original photo that DALL-E generated for me, and below is the image that I created myself. The whole base was taken from DALL-E, but with a little bit of kit bashing and a little bit of my own flavor, I was able to recreate this image here. So now that I have my reference image, it's time to go get started with the painting. If you really like this process so far, don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a little comment down below. It really helps the YouTube algorithm so more people can see this content. I started off with a ground layer of burnt sienna and a light grid to help with the sketch. I really wanted a warm underpainting to complement how blue and cool the final image is going to be. Part of this is going to show through on the final image, so having a nice warm tone to complement the blues will give a lot more vibrancy to the final image. My goal with this underpainting is not to be exact, if you couldn't tell. It's more to be gestural and kind of give me a foundation to build on and give me a good idea of where all the placement's going to be. Once this layer is dried, I move on to oil painting. I start with the most distant subject and work my way forward. A little tip to help with your landscape paintings is to remember atmospheric perspective. What that means is that objects further back into the distance are more blurry and hard to see, and their color, value, saturation, and hue change. This is something to keep in mind when you're working from a photo reference, as your camera works really hard to sharpen and oversaturate images. I am well aware of the controversy surrounding AI art. There are many people out there who are afraid of how it will impact the art world, maybe their jobs, or even the legal implications behind it. This video, however, is not about my stance on the subject. I merely wanted to create a proof of concept. I was fascinated with the idea of being able to input prompts into a program and for it to try and figure out what I was saying and then recreate it in an image. I saw the results and knew I could improve on the image to create something of a hybrid between the digital world and our physical one. Now, while I feel like I have manipulated the original image enough to recreate it in a physical way to call it mine, I'm interested to hear what you think. Do you think I can call this image mine? Do you think that because I used a program to help generate the reference image, I can have no ownership? I'd love to hear down in the comments on your thoughts and opinions on this. I've always liked to do my landscapes in an impressionistic style. Maybe it's because my realistic landscapes are subpar, or I think more likely it's the freedom it gives me. I could be more gestural with my brushwork, and instead of thinking about executing every little detail, one simple brushstroke solves all my problems. I especially like these round brushes. You can get a lot of shape with these brushes, and I think depending on how you apply the paint, you can get a really nice combination of some soft and hard edges. I like the idea of being very direct with my brush strokes too. If you notice, I don't like to blend a lot on my canvas. In fact, there's virtually no blending at all. It's because it forces me to think more about the color, the direction, and the brush I'd like to use before I apply the paint. I'm not really sure if it matters how you apply the paint, but for me, it gives me a lot more intent with each brush stroke. So like I mentioned, this whole painting was a proof of concept. The idea that I was so fascinated with, and that I think a lot of you are interested in as well when it comes to AI art, is that you can describe with words what you are trying to envision. And I think for some of us, this is a lot easier than describing pictorially what you are looking for. So some people are really good, for example, with sketches and conceptual ideas or concept art and creating these imaginary universes, where others, like myself, that's not a strong suit of mine. I often look towards reference images, and that will be the structure of which will carry me towards these paintings that I create, or these pieces of art that I make. And so being able to input my thoughts with words into a program that can simplify it down for me and give me some base points, I think is something that's really, really useful and interesting. And like I said, this is a proof of concept. I merely wanted to try this out and see what I could do with it. I wanted to see how much of a base it could give me, and then allow me to build on top of that to try and create something of my own. And I know that's going to be a topic of controversy, and I welcome you all to let me know how you feel I did in the comments below. But I think my main goal behind this all was just to try it out, to try and see where I could get a baseline from and build upon that to create something of my own. By finishing up with these little blue bushes, maybe they're blueberries, who knows what they are, but I can call the image complete. So here it is, the finished AI generated landscape. This was really fun and a really interesting dive into using AI to help me generate images. I was really fascinated with the idea of having AI generate an image for me refine it a little bit, and then bring it to life using oil paint. I think that it's a really powerful tool, and although it's very controversial right now, I think eventually we'll find a nice medium. I'm very happy with how this image overall turned out. I think I accomplished what I was looking for. I think next time I'd spend a little bit more time and render these buildings a little bit more, but overall I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. And this was a really good proof of concept for me. Like I mentioned, I was really interested in the idea of using AI to generate an image for me to refine it a little bit, crop and paste, and sort of make it into something of my own vision, and then recreating it using oil paint. And I think this was a really good proof of concept that you can do that. But let me know, do you think that I edited this enough to make it my own? Do you think that I'm still stealing art? What are your thoughts on AI? I'd love to hear down in the comments. And what did you think about the whole process here? And if you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the little bell notification to get notified as soon as I drop a new video. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and stay tuned for the next one.